So now moving on to the actual dissection part of this lesson. So we have a real life owl pellet right here in my hand. It was wrapped up in some tin foil, so that's how they come, like I said, looking like little baked potatoes. And in this is going to be lots of fur, lots of bone. You can even see some bone right here on the surface before we've even broken into it. So right here in this resin are examples of things that we can find. So different types of skulls, part of a jaw, ribs, and leg and arm bones. So really, really cool stuff that we will be able to look out for. Tools wise, we just have a pair of tweezers and a probe to move things around to try and break into the pellet. And once we find things, we can label them on our bone ID chart. Our bone ID chart has different types of skulls from birds, moles, rodents, and shrews. And then you have skulls, scapulas, front legs, hind legs, feet, ribs, anything you can think of. You will be able to put it on this little chart just to get a good idea of what your particular owl ate. So now we're gonna try and break into this pellet. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You just kind of try and break it in half and see where you can go from there. And there's lots of bone in here, so it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to try and bust open. I am going to try and see what big pieces of bone I can find. That's always the most fun part, are big pieces of bones. So right here, I would imagine that these are two very small, looks kind of like ribs or very, very small leg bones. So we can probably try and place them. So this would, I would assume, would be a front leg of some very small rodent because it kind of matches the picture. Let's see. So here's a bigger leg bone. You can see the joints and where some connective tissues would be. Still got fur on it and everything. So this could go right there. So a very big hind leg of a large, probably, I would say a larger rodent, but I'm going to put it outside since it's a bigger one. I don't believe that would have belonged to a bird just because it is so big. So you can see in the orange right here that those are gonna be two really, really big pairs of front teeth belonging to a pretty big rodent. So you never know what you're gonna get in these pellets. Since it came from one individual owl, this owl had a very good meal. You also have to try and be very careful because sometimes bones can be very, very brittle. And so if you want to try and preserve something as much as possible, try and get it completely out of the fur, out of the pellet intact. So for example, let me pick it up with the tweezers. This tooth just kind of broke off from the rest of the skull, but it's orange. It's obvious that it came from a rodent and it's pretty big for a mouse or a rat. Well, that happened. It just comes with the territory, I guess. Another big bone. So this actually looks like it could be some type of scapula maybe, so like shoulder blade. And it looks like it would best fit probably in this category right there. So this is going to be the bottom jaw of the animal that we're trying to get out right now. So a rodent, because it's got that big orange tooth right there. And if you look super, super close behind that orange tooth, you can see all of the itty bitty teeth behind that one, since even though this was a bigger rodent, like it still has very tiny teeth. There's the other half of that same bottom jaw right there. It's again the orange tooth. An even bigger bottom jaw from an even bigger rat or mouse. So if you want to compare the sizes of the things this bird can eat and why it's such a good predator, that would be a good time. So, big rat, little rat. It's starting to break a little bit just because it's been through like digestive acids and all throughout an owl. So it's going to be very, very fragile, but again, just try your best to get it intact. If not, again, not a big deal. This was easier with a fresh owl pellet. It's been compacted and dried out for so long. So these right here are going to be two vertebrae. So these were attached, but since I just pulled fur off of them, they detached since that was the only thing left holding them together. But those are going to be two vertebrae, probably of that really, really large mouse that this owl ate. Another pretty big leg bone, so it looks like. Probably hind leg. Let me clean it off just a little bit more. Okay. Another cool thing. I broke off the tip of it and it seems to be pneumatic or have those air pockets, semi-hollow. So I believe this would be kind of like a scapula maybe, or maybe like a part of the leg. So I'm not exactly sure, but still really, really cool. Let's just throw it onto the bird paw. Right there. Common for there to be multiple animals in an owl pellet? Yes, very common. So you can see right here that we found two different sizes of jaws, so more than one rodent was eaten, and then since I feel like this belonged to a bird, it's very, very likely that before that gizzard gets filled up or that glandular stomach gets filled up, that they can eat multiple things. Okay, this is neat. So we have a section of vertebrae right here, which seems to be attached to maybe a scapula or some other kind of front leg, hind leg joint. So you can see right there that that is where I honestly would say this would probably be from a bird because of how the backbone is fused with the scapula. So it comes to a connect right here. Since some birds' backbones are fused, I would assume that this is from some smaller species of bird, obviously smaller than an owl, and then this is where the arm bone from that wing would connect right here. So this is a really, really cool find, one that I haven't ever seen before. Aha, okay. I think that is about as good as it's gonna get on the skull. So this is going to be the top part of this rodent's head. I tore off those two front orange teeth, but I did show you earlier, so that's how I know it's a rodent, because of those two large front teeth. If we turn it around, we can see the little hole where the brainstem would be, where the vertebral column would connect, so its backbone would connect. These two large sockets right here, these would be where the eyes would go. And then if I turn it this way, you can see the top teeth of the rodent. So we saw the bottom teeth that were connected to the bottom jaw. That bottom jaw comes off in two different parts. And then here are the other two rows of top teeth. This is a decently clean rodent skull found in an owl pellet. That is the majority of the pellet. I did not put all of the bones from the pellet onto the map because it's a bunch of very, very tiny little fragments of bones, and obviously bones are gonna get broken because it's something being eaten. It's gonna be hard to ID, but always have fun and try to ID and think of whatever it came from, whether it be a rodent or a bird, or maybe even a lizard. You never know what owls like to eat. So we'll put this guy with the rodent section, skull section, move over all these jaws. that's it. So that is how you dissect an owl pellet and how an owl pellet comes to be. And you can find these in the wild if you look really, really closely enough, or if you observe an owl for long enough, they will probably regurgitate that pellet, and then you can totally go try and find it underneath the tree that the owl is in and dissect it yourself.